Dan, hello. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Rachel. Nice to be here.
I mean, what a day so far. We've still got a couple of hours to go, but you've run your 2 workshops. How did they go?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Rachel. It's always nice, I think, because Thrivall has 2 co-founders, myself and Amwin, to do those workshops together is hopefully good for the audience, because you've got 2 people kind of throwing the baton between each other.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to, we also do kind of keynote speaking, and that's really much more just kind of saying our piece. So we love a workshop because it's much more interactive and, really getting to kind of engage with the audience, find out kind of what makes them tick. And I think what's always really such a privilege is what people will share as well, right?
Yeah.
I think that perhaps, that's testament that we create that kind of safe environment, but also that, that people kind of can see that it's contributing to the workshop and their learning as well.
It's that more you put in, the more you get back out of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think, we're always, Thrivall being, a leader development and support company that's founded in mental fitness, proactive mental fitness and wellbeing. We're always looking to kind of what's the biggest impact and value we can add, right? So what we know, so Thrivall delivers 12 months year-round ongoing programs. So it's not like we'll come in and do a little program here or a little training session here. It's all about long-term embedded learning and support. And so, but we've all been in a half-day long workshop where you're falling asleep, you're right, and you're just seeing someone talking, right? So what was really important for us, Amwin and I were building Thrivall, was that the workshops that we create are really content light and kind of conversation heavy. So it's really nice to kind of, and we don't deliver those. We have these amazing experts that do that for our clients. So for us, it's really interesting to kind of do that ourselves.
Yeah.
With it in the context of leadership. But a big part of what we do is we co-create with our training facilitator, our experts, and a big part is stripping stuff out because, but for that thing, which is that we just want someone, the clients that are in our workshops, those leaders, those managers that are in our workshops, just to take one thing away and implement it. And we think that's much more powerful than someone who's a real expert in a subject talking at you for 2 hours, which is like exciting and you get these great speakers. But actually, when you get back into the coalface of your business and your business, if you just drop it all and forget it all, value has it added. And
that's it. We've all done those workshops, those exhibitions, conferences where you go back to the office or you go back home and they go, how was it? And you go, it was amazing. And they go, what did you learn? And you go, so much. And you actually can't pinpoint, whereas what it sounds like Thrivall do is you go, today, this is what you're going to learn. Yeah,
you're absolutely right, Rachel. So look, it's not just that we're useless at remembering stuff, right? The psychology is out there. Yeah, it's not your fault. So it's 20 minutes we actually have between, we can take in 20 minutes worth of information, right? And we really need to remember that as if you're giving a keynote that's 40 minutes long, you need to have kind of pauses and reflection points within a talk because actually what's happening when we go to those kind of half-day or day-long kind of workshops that have got so much content that it's like there's so much information that you forget even the stuff that, it's what you can retain. So you're absolutely right, is fundamental to how Thrivall kind of delivers value for the businesses that it works with, is that kind of real kind of impact. So it's an hour and a half, like a training workshop. So which is really an hour of content and half an hour of discussion, and then within that hour there's also conversations and kind of workshopping, and that's kind of in 1 month. And then on the alternative months, so that's happening every other month, getting trained from anything that could be from, say, a communication skill like active listening to a breathwork workshop. So we've got this amazing person who delivers this breathwork workshop because leaders need to have that kind of capacity in their own well-being looked after, as well as having those perhaps kind of more traditional skills of listening and maybe like leading with empathy, those kind of real leadership skills. It's about those kind of other things that are helping us be better within ourselves to be better leaders. But then on the alternative months, they get a personal check-in session with a fully qualified counsellor who's also a coach and has a business background.
Wow.
So then they're getting that support element, which perhaps is missing from that leader training in more traditional sense, which is, so we're going to teach you a load of stuff, and then it's up to you to, and off you go. Rather than, and even if we've got like a great boss that's like a director that's kind of supporting us, they're always going to have to talk about performance in the business.
Yeah.
In the Thrivall leader program, your one-to-one check-in is for you. And because they're external and it's completely anonymous, like nothing leaves that room.
Yeah.
It's for them and them only. So if you want to talk about a business challenge that you're kind of trying to work out, then it's going to be that kind of mentoring session.
Yeah.
But if it's also just having this real life event at work, at home or something, we know that affects us at work, right?
Yeah.
Well, with that, with our one-to-one and our experts that deliver those sessions for our clients, then that's just for them and can help them, because we know how important that kind of being able to walk through those difficulties, whether you've got an elderly parent who's struggling, you don't probably talk about that at work, maybe with some of your co-workers, but you probably wouldn't share it with your boss.
No, absolutely. And what amazes me and what sounds incredible about what you've created within Thrivall as well is that because it's all year long, is life's a roller coaster, and so actually those ups and downs, you'll go into that counselling session or that mentoring session, and you'll be like, do you know what, the world is amazing, I have got nothing to talk, like, let's talk about what's
so spot on. And
then the next month you could be bottom of the bottom, like, I don't know what to do with life. And
100%, you've really nailed it. Yeah, so what you've nailed is, so we talk about this spectrum of mental health. Okay, so we were talking about this in the workshops today. Mm-hmm. We've done so much work as a society to kind of take some of the stigma around mental health away. So we talk about it. So when I started my career, maybe when it was kind of really not mentioned. Whereas now we will talk about stress. We will talk about burnout. But what's been really interesting in the 3 years that we've been building our little startup Thrivall is that we've recognised that people have still a negative attachment to mental health because they think it means mental illness.
Yeah.
Now, what you've touched on, which is really, really important, is that it's a spectrum. Okay? And just as we talk about physical health being that kind of like, do you know what, I'm eating well, I'm running, and my physical health is great. You could also be, do you know what, I've been drinking too much, I've not been sleeping well, and actually I'm really not doing well physically. So we're quite happy to talk about the spectrum of physical health. So how's your physical health? It's great, or it's not great. I think when we talk about mental health, people go, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Whereas just as you've said, the mental health is a spectrum, and the spectrum can be, it's a movable feast. So yes, sometimes you'll be more on the kind of the struggling end for a bit of time, but sometimes you can be. And that's why we have these amazing counsellor coaches, which can be, if it needs to be a counsellor session, but more often than not, it's a kind of a coaching, mentoring, and a deployment of the skills that they have to help people have strategies to kind of not fall into the struggling and into the crisis, because it's much more proactive. But also that kind of like, you might have had your check-in session, your personal check-in, and it's been really positive. But at the end of the week, suddenly a client's landed something in your lap, and you're back.
You're like,
that's the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully, or what we've seen in being with people on Thrivall program is that actually they get the tools and the techniques to kind of lean into. So, for example, something that I learned through collaborating with an amazing breathwork expert is, have you heard of finger tracing?
I don't. Is this like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. And it seems so silly, but so powerful that the one thing we have control of, right, is our breath. And so if we feel ourselves kind of getting kind of stressed out on something, and the beauty is you can do it under the desk, but to take that moment to kind of just go, was that, Danielle, we did that breathwork, that Thrivall breathwork workshop, and to kind of retain that and to have your kind of, and by the way, those check-in sessions are personally matched. So you choose from we've got a whole kind of, cohort of these amazing people. So it's not like, here's Dave and he's looking after everybody in the team.
Yeah.
You get to choose who you're drawn to. So you actually get, because we know it's the rapport that's built with your coach that is going to have the biggest outcome. And so they know all the workshops you've been on as well. Yeah. So you can talk about, some people are like, oh, what am I going to talk about? Because it's not a performance review. It's nothing like that. It's just for you. That's your personal coach and champion. So, you've always got, actually, that workshop was really fascinating that we did on active listening. I want to talk more about that. So back to the point that you made about going to that conference where you hear all of that stuff, but apply nothing.
Yeah.
Not only are you having this short kind of low content, high conversation, you then can go and talk about it in your check-in session to really embed that learning. And you have like journals to use from post follow-up workshops. So for us, that's the difference, I suppose, between knowledge and wisdom, right?
Absolutely.
Like knowledge is all that information, but actually wisdom is when you have the experience of applying it. And that's when it kind of is better for us and for our colleagues and their businesses.
And I suppose, also listening to you talk there, is that understanding of, you can celebrate the wins. So we've had it before where you summon that big client and you're like, this is amazing. But then the kid comes home from school, right, and he's having the hardest time ever. And conflicting, I want to be celebrating, but I'm like, this is the most heartbreaking moment.
Sure.
Because I want to support my son, or, and actually how do you balance those emotions and that irregularity in one day?
Well, it's also really, and so you've really touched on perhaps another important point is the work-life balance.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, actually, how helpful is that, particularly for an entrepreneur like yourself, as a small business owner, right? Is that I don't think it helps for us to say, because the work-life balance says I work between 9 to 5. And if I'm doing anything outside of that, then I'm bad, right? If I'm working at the weekend, well, that's not an entrepreneur's life.
Hell no.
So actually, we were very fortunate to have this amazing advisory board for Thrivall, and we've got a professor of psychology and amazing successful people in business, doctor of psychology, because professor of psychology is never enough. So we've got this amazing advisory board, and one of them, Paul Parker, I always quote, gave me this amazing thought of perhaps much more helpful is work-life structures. Okay. So what we know, because also our professor of psychology is does a whole piece around how important rest is. So what we do know is that doing 80 hours a week, week in, week out as a business owner is not healthy for us. But also, there's nothing wrong going on to your on a Sunday to do your emails to set yourself up in the week. So it's about having those structures where people can go, okay, so I've worked till 12 o'clock. What I might do is take the morning to go for a walk. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so therefore it removes that guilt. Now, the other thing I think I would caveat this with is that if you've got a team that you should have in your email, if I am emailing you outside of those core work hours, please I don't expect you to respond. So that's really important, because that 24-hour kind of
lifestyle.
Yeah, it's not healthy. So I think that's a really nice kind of work-life structure, and actually to kind of what you're saying as well, I think is really important, that it's not just, there's work or there's person, that it's all the same. And actually we often get asked, well, what's the responsibility of a business? Should a business be responsible for their colleagues' well-being? Well, we say yes, because actually when a business truly cares, right, about their colleagues, guess what their colleagues do for them?
Stay.
And they do great work, right? So they stay longer. And so we're actually much more interested at Thrivall about talking about this thing called sustainable employment. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a concept that's already out there, which we've taken, a bit like the 5 ways to wellbeing that we use for our Thrivall Wheel of Wellbeing, which is that reflection tool to kind of how am I doing, which we love to give away, and we've given away to the people in our workshops. So hello,
Come steal that.
well, just email us at hello@thrivall.co.uk and we'll send you our little PDF journal. But for us, it's about kind of giving people those kind of tools and those techniques so that they can be better at home, be better at work. Because when we take the time out to kind of have that chat with one of our colleagues who's perhaps had that kind of the kiddie come home and has been in detention and they're struggling, right? Actually, you want to have a chat about it and not just kind of avoid it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Amazing. So phenomenal. And I love what Thrivall are doing. What's brought you into connection with Funny Women?
So
Today's event.
Lynn, of course. So interestingly, so I'm an ambassador for the Institute of Directors as well in the Kent branch, and Lynn came along to a roundtable event that I was putting together, and we just we hit it off, and B, I think for me, fun at work. I think it's really difficult because fun at work is important, but I think it's also not to make sure it's received as trite, because actually business is hard, business is difficult, and I think what we don't want to have is that, because fun can often be misconstrued as mucking around and stuff like that, right? So, but what we do know is happier teams perform better. In fact, the stats to prove it.
Yeah.
And so that's what's been really interesting is that, when Lynn reached out to us and said, look, we're putting on this event, and she kind of had an idea of what Thrivall does for businesses. And we've kind of recently put a new kind of workshop. As I say, we do these kind of keynote talks, but we also love to do they love to do these kind of workshops. And what was really interesting was that we didn't really have to change it much to fit the event, because we always make it fit the event, right? And that for us was around leaders and the importance of leading well and being well resourced and creating happy teams. So we were already talking about this thing, and she said, "This is perfect. This is going to fit exactly."
Bring it.
The thing.
Amazing. And do you know what? We've already had someone review who went to your workshop,
right,
and then went to the conflict resolution improv, and said they just merged beautifully.
This is what we're hearing.
Like,
someone went to Alex's after ours, and I tongue-in-cheek said, "Was our workshop better?" But not that I've just had.
She'll take a while. He's a wrestler,
Well, what was brilliant was she was like, they were both so well connected.
Yeah.
It felt like they were hand in glove going from yours to Alex's. So that's great to hear it from.
So it goes that way.
So it's almost like Lynn knows what she's doing.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell her.
I won't. We'll keep that between us.
Yeah, we won't broadcast this on YouTube. So, Dan, thank you so much. If people want to get in touch and obviously join Thrivall, how can they go about reaching out and doing?
Yeah, do you know what? Jump on. I think most of us in the business are on networks, are on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So jump on, follow Thrivall's LinkedIn page, or follow Dan Corpe Thrivall, Anwin Cooper Thrivall. We're both pretty active on sharing stuff, interesting stuff that hopefully adds value. But also, we're obviously online, but all, as I say, if you do want that well-being reflection, so we've got this Thrivall Wheel of Wellbeing reflection tool, just drop us a line at hello@thrivall.co.uk. So that is thrive without the E, ALL, or as some people pronounce it, Thrivall. But it'll be like Google, everybody will know what Thrivall means eventually.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to get those spelt correctly links, and then I'm going to put them in the show notes so that people can just click on it and make it easy.
Let's do that. Can you do that?
Yeah, I can do that for you.
You've done this before.
I might actually know what I'm doing too. Don't tell me.
I won't do your business time.
No, don't tell him. You make me work harder.
Absolutely right.
Dan, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, won't you?
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for having us.